Welcome everyone as we convene the Mindful Law Student Conference at the University of Miami School of Law. I'm Scott Rogers, Director of the Mindfulness and Law program, and I'm delighted that for this first conference, the students that have enrolled in and participated in the class Mindfulness in Law will be presenting on their topics, of which they'll be contributing papers that will be compiled into an edition that will be shared so that many of us, both here at the school and nationally, who are interested in mindfulness in law and the crossroads of mindfulness in various substantive areas and procedural areas of practice, that this conversation can be enriched through the experiences of law students. Today we'll have two panels chaired by Genevieve Valle, who will be chairing the trial practice panel, and Ryan Podges, who will be chairing the conflict resolution panel. They will introduce their presenters. 30 minutes will be given for each panel, and among themselves, the chair and presenters have decided how to divvy up that time so there can be both be the presentation as well as a time for questions and answers. For the sake of that question of when do we applaud, because this is a momentous time, I think, in the practice and study of law, and the work that you all have done is worthy of that in many, many respects. Let us, if we may, in the spirit of this contemplative practice, if we wish to applaud along the way, to do so with one hand. So we'll clap with one hand. But then when the panel concludes, before we move on to the other panel, when both presenters have spoken, when questions have been asked and answered, then we can share our applause for the presentations and the conversation that we've participated in. And because this is a mindfulness in law experience, a bringing together of the law in its very formal and structured and intense and powerful ways with this thing called mindfulness that, as we've learned, shares many of these same qualities, let us begin with a few moments of a quiet, mindful sitting, both to remind ourselves of how it is that we can bring ourselves into this moment, and then, of course, as you all present, to remind ourselves of the ways that both in terms of speaking and listening and processing, the very thing that we've been studying and talking about and exploring is right for this very experience as well. So let's lower or close our eyes, whichever is more comfortable, as we bring awareness to the body sitting in the chair, and perhaps you are aware, depending upon when you are presenting and if you are presenting today, qualities of body and mind, noticing as we breathe, allowing these thoughts, feelings, and sensations to be as they are, observing, engaged, allowing awareness to reside a little bit more deeply with the breath, the noticing of the rising of the body, the movement of the belly on the in-breath, and a softening of the body on the out-breath, returning our attention to the breath, and then carrying perhaps a little bit of what we've begun to cultivate through this deliberate practice into this moment as we lift our gaze, open our eyes, and begin our program. So